Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedom and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedom.
Public pressure makes the Boy Scouts postpone a vote on homosexuality. Hi, I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Matt Barber, vice president of Liberty Counsel Action. Matt, the Boy Scouts, at least some of the people on the executive board, apparently thought that they were going to be able to push this vote through, and they got so much pushback that they ultimately decided to postpone the vote until later this year, which is good news for us, which gives us an opportunity now to give our voice. Because otherwise, we could have had a change in this policy that would have been devastating to the Scouts.
Absolutely devastating. In fact, it would have destroyed the Scouts as we've known it from within. You know, it wasn't a wave of pushback. It was a tsunami of pushback, and that's understandable. The vast majority of people who are associated with Scouts are also very involved in their churches, parents, and children. The traditional values inherent within the morally straight aspect of Boy Scouting that has served them well for 103 years is part and parcel of Boy Scouting. If you do away with that and adopt moral relativism and, in fact, immorality as central to Boy Scouting, then it's going to fall apart at the seams, and it will not be the Scouts as we have known it.
Well, the mission and oath includes the following statement. It says, to prepare young people to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetimes by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and law. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to help other people at all times, to obey the Scout law, and to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Yeah. Now, how would you have a policy and an oath like that under a policy that says you can have homosexual scoutmasters or homosexual scouts?
Where you have adults modeling for children what every major world religion and thousands of years of history have held to be immoral behavior that we know demonstrably is self-destructive from a medical standpoint, from a spiritual and emotional standpoint. So why would you have adults modeling that behavior for children? But the point here is, how dare these radical special interest groups, these pressure groups like the Human Rights Campaign and others, come in and put pressure on the Scouts to change their whole philosophy and adopt this postmodern, morally relative philosophy that they want to see the world adopt. They're basically saying, and President Obama, how offensive for him to come out and tell the Scouts that they need to change their ways. That's akin to saying, you know, there is no room in this world anywhere where there are traditional values relative to sexual morality. We're going to push you to the fringes.
Yeah, it makes no sense to have a Jerry Sandusky as your scoutmaster. And essentially that's what this policy would open up the doors to. You'd have somebody who has sexual attractions to the young boys that he is supervising, taking them out in the woods, developing trust, and then having the awful situation that we had with Jerry Sandusky. When he did that, I mean, he started a program for troubled youth so he could eventually end up exploiting them sexually. And now he's going to be serving the rest of his life in prison. But in the meantime, he's broken so many lives. And you're going to have the same kind of thing in the Scouts if you open it up to that kind of immoral behavior.
Absolutely you will. And contrary to the meme that is pushed by the left, the reality is our friends over at Family Research Council have studied this in depth, a compilation of studies. The reality is, quote, the myth is that homosexuals are no more likely to molest children than heterosexuals. The fact is that the percentage of child sexual abuse cases in which men molest boys is many times higher, at about 10 to 1, in fact, than the percentage of adult males who are homosexual, and most men who molest boys self-identify as homosexual or bisexual. That's according to the Archives of Sexual Behavior, a study that they did. That's no bastion of conservatism. That's actually a liberal-leaning journal.
And you look at, keeping yourself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. The Center for Disease Control came out with a study that said in 2010, the most recent year for statistics, 63% 63% of the 50,000 new AIDS or HIV cases that happen every year are among the homosexual and bisexual male population. Yeah. It is not a lifestyle to keep you morally and physically straight. It is a devastation that would actually come to the Scouts. Now, what happened was the CEO of Ernst & Young is on the executive board, and also the CEO of AT&T. And those individuals decided to push this forward last year when the Scouts came out and they reaffirmed their policy that they're going to maintain this policy of not allowing homosexual scoutmasters. Then those individuals began this effort to push this thing forward. And they also got involved, I'm sure, with an HRC, Human Rights Campaign, and others got involved in putting pressure on corporations that fund the National Boy Scouts. And some of those corporations pulled back their funding. That's what started this snowball. They were going to push this through, but Liberty Counsel and others found out about it, and we inundated them with pressure on the other side, and they were shocked. The word is, from within the Boy Scouts, they were shocked at the pushback that happened so quickly around the country.
Well, they're going to vote on it when they have with the full board when they have their meeting in May, I believe it is. But Matt, the reality is this will destroy the Boy Scouts. Yeah. We have seen in Canada they have scouting in Canada. Their version of the Boy Scouts, within 5 years, they adopted this sexually relative sexual anarchist, allowed homosexual men to be scout leaders. Their membership rolls went from 300,000 to 130,000 in just 5 years, plummeted in just 5 years. So they are truly cutting off their nose to spite their face. But this shows you when you put the love of money above principle. Scripture says the wages of sin is death. And when you put the love of money, which is the root of all evil, above doing the right thing and principle and being morally straight, well, then you're talking about death of the Boy Scouts as we know it.
And I talked to an individual who's an attorney. I practiced law with him when I first became an attorney in Orlando, Florida. He's a pharmacist as well as an attorney. And he's been a member of the Boy Scouts for 30 years, an Eagle Scout. I had a long conversation with him. He was so concerned about the direction of the Scouts. And he has in his will a large part of his estate would go to the Boy Scouts. He says if the Boy Scouts pass this policy, he will take the Boy Scouts out of his will. He also said this. He says there's a difference between the Boy Scouts nationally and the Boy Scouts locally. The Boy Scouts nationally don't have a lot to do with the Boy Scouts locally. They produce materials and so forth. But Boy Scouts are really a local program, sponsored many of them by churches. And if you ultimately have this policy, you will devastate the local Boy Scouts. The local Boy Scouts don't depend upon funding from the National Boy Scouts. They get it locally. And that funding will dry up. Plus, the churches will pull back.
Of course.
But more so than that, the Human Rights Campaign said they're not content with the change of the policy. They want to defund the Boy Scouts until all of the Boy Scouts, not just some of the Boy Scouts, change the policy. Yeah. They want to make sure homosexuals are in every scout at a local level.
Think about that, Matt. Adult radical homosexual activists demand access to your children, to my children. I have scouting age children. That should send a shudder down the spine of every father, for instance. What father in his right mind would send his children on an overnight camping trip with an adult man who defines his very identity by the fact that he is sexually craves sex with other males?
And that's something interesting because heterosexuals don't define their identity by their sexual lifestyle.
Right.
But those that are in the homosexual lifestyle define their entire identity with sexual acts.
It's hypersexual.
It's hypersexualized, focus. And you put that within the Boy Scouts, it is just trouble waiting to happen. We're putting our Boy Scouts at risk. The good news is Liberty Counsel went out with a petition on the Monday before they actually had this meeting in Dallas. In a day and a half, we gathered 25,000 petitions. It was huge. We delivered those to both the hotel where they were meeting and the national headquarters. We're going to continue to gather more petitions. We could have easily gone over 100,000 in just no time at all had we had the time. Go to Liberty Counsel's website, lc.org, lc.org. You can sign up for the Liberty Alert email, but sign up for the Grassroots Action email right there on the front page as well. That's the email that is comprised of 500,000 or so activists that really can make a difference, and that's what we ultimately sent this petition to make a difference, and you can too. Go to Liberty Counsel's website, lc.org. Also order Dr. Judith Reisman's book, Sexual Sabotage, from the website, plus additional resources. Remember, Liberty Counsel in your prayers and your financial support.
You have been listening to Faith and Freedom with Liberty Counsel. We hope that we have motivated you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedom. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email updates. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.